Every night, a faceless man visited Princess Adaze's dreams with a chilling command, "You are mine. No man will have you." I still remember the night Princess Adaeze screamed. A scream so sharp it cut through the palace walls and made even the guards look at each other with trembling hands. That was the night we learned the truth: Adaeze was married. But not to any man on earth. I was there. I saw everything. My name is Ojin, royal messenger to the throne of King Abodo. I was still a boy when the queen, Obidiya, secretly left the palace one cold evening with a heavy basket and shaky hands. She thought no one was watching. But I followed her, quietly, down the narrow bush path until the sound of rushing water filled the night air. Tiabra. The sacred river. Home of Obanku, the river god of fruitfulness. I watched as the queen knelt by the glowing water, placing her finest wrappers, golden beads, and cowries into a clay pot. Then she whispered, trembling, "Obanku, give me a child. I will do anything. Anything." The river swallowed her gift. She lay on the wet sand and wept until sleep carried her off. I wish, oh, I wish I had run to stop her. Because from that night, the kingdom was never the same. The next morning, Queen Obidiya woke with a strange discomfort in her belly. Within weeks, she was pregnant. The palace rejoiced. Drums echoed through the hills for days. And months later, a child was born, a radiant girl with eyes like dawn. Princess Adaeze. We all loved her. But the queen worshipped her. Perhaps too much. Adaeze grew into a beauty that made warriors forget their own names. When she walked through the village, even goats paused to stare. Mothers dragged their sons indoors to prevent embarrassment. Young men accidentally walked into trees. And other princes, rich, tall, fearless, came from far kingdoms. But one by one, they died. I saw the first suitor die. A strong wrestler from Ominid Kingdom. Healthy. Fearless. Proud. Adaeze only smiled at him once, and I swear the man's knees buckled. During the marriage contest, he won the wrestling match. But moments later, while dancing in victory, he collapsed, lifeless. No mark. No wound. Just gone. The villagers whispered, "Spirit husband. Maybe she's too beautiful. Beauty that kills." By the fifth suitor, even the palace guards refused to escort any interested man to her chamber. And Adaeze. She cried every night. I heard her through the palace doors. Why me? Why do they all die? Who is this man that comes to me in dreams? She never slept peacefully. Always the same nightmare. A man, faceless but powerful, claiming, "You are mine, Adaeze. No man will have you." The day Prince Obanku died at the wedding ceremony, chaos broke out. People ran. Women screamed. The king fainted twice. Adaeze locked herself in her room and refused food. Queen Obidiya, shaking with guilt, returned to the river again. She shouted into the night, "Obanku, why are you tormenting my child?" The river stirred. Thunder growled. The water rose like a giant. A voice echoed, "You promised me anything. Adaeze is mine." The queen fell to her knees, weeping. She whispered, "No, please." Suddenly, slap. A fierce wind struck her cheek. Her scream echoed through the valley. "No gift from Obanku is free," the river thundered. "She is marked for me. No man can take her unless he wrestles with the river itself." The queen fled, shaking. And that night, she confessed everything to the king. He roared in anger. He smashed his throne stool. He cursed the river until his voice cracked. But none of that changed the truth that Adaeze was no longer theirs. The king gathered the elders, and the chief priest entered a long trance. When he awoke, trembling, he said, There is one way. A suitor must enter Ekelede Forest and bring palm wine from the divine tree of purity. Every man who had tried before was dead. No one volunteered. Until one bright afternoon, I followed Adaeze as she wandered through the market, hiding her tears behind her veil. Then she stopped. There, under the Jidenna tree, sat a young man playing a flute. Tall, calm, handsome. His music was magical. Adaeze hid behind a tree, but the boy saw her and smiled. The princess whose beauty makes even birds jealous. Adaeze laughed, her first laugh in weeks. But the smile faded quickly. Later that evening, I overheard her trembling voice. To marry me, you must face Ekelede Forest. Then I will go, he said without hesitation. Even if I die trying. Adaeze whispered, please, don't. Jidenna touched her cheek. For you, I will. And that was that. The entire kingdom gasped when he announced his intention. On the morning of his quest, villagers gathered around Jidenna. It felt like a celebration, but everybody cried like it was a funeral. The chief priest blessed him. If you survive, the gods have spared you. If you die, you join the ancestors. Jidenna smiled lightly. Jidenna stepped past the village boundary, the chief priest's parting blessing clinging to him like a desperate prayer, a faint, flickering courage against the certainty of death. He carried only a simple leather bag containing his flute and dwindling provisions, his lifeline measured precisely against the 7 days he had to survive. The Ekelede Forest did not waste a moment proving its dread. It was no passive collection of trees, it was a boundless, sentient entity, suffocating and hostile. From the moment the towering canopy swallowed the last sliver of sun, the forest actively wrestled him. The earth conspired to lose him, the paths twisting into maddening illusions. The air itself grew heavy, a physical weight pressing down on his chest, intent on smothering his resolve. He battled more than primal nature, he fought malevolent spirits that clawed at his mind, hissing doubts and promising a gruesome end. The wind rose repeatedly like an invisible, colossal giant, tearing at his crude hunting garments and striking him with bone-jarring force. He survived by hiding in earthen shadows from beasts whose eyes burned like embers in the absolute darkness. By the end of the 4th day, his sustenance was tragically depleted. His throat was parchment, his legs were raw with thorns, and the bitter sweat of fear was his only nourishment. Though exhaustion weighed him down, the memory of Princess Adaeze became a searing, singular fire that drove him forward. Then, through the gloom, he saw it, the divine tree of purity. It stood in a small clearing, ancient and magnificent, bathed in a gentle, warm light that repelled the surrounding shadows. His hands, trembling now with a profound, sudden relief, tapped the back, and he watched the sacred palm wine fill his small calabash. The peace lasted only a breath. A sound like the creation splitting in two, a shattering clap of thunder and blinding lightning, rocked the clearing, summoning a terrifying, instantaneous storm. A voice, deep and terrible, boomed from every direction, Jidenna. You cannot have her, she belongs to me. Jidenna knew it was Obanku. He shouted back into the tempest, acknowledging the ancient spirit and screaming his defiant readiness to die for Adaeze. The true test began. A colossal, wild force, the river god manifested as pure kinetic wind, slammed into him. He was violently flung 3 separate times across the razor-edged bushes. Every bone in his body screamed in protest, and he felt the sickening taste of earth and blood, the thought flashing, this is the end. But Jidenna refused to yield. Half broken, he gripped his only weapon, his flute. He chose fate over physical struggle. He lifted the instrument and began to play a victory tune, loud and clear, a soaring, pure melody that was an act of absolute belief against the furious god. As the music intensified, the air instantly went cold. The storm choked. The thunder died. The monstrous watery giant dissolved, and Obanku was gone. Bright sunlight, sharp and cleansing, blazed through the remaining trees, illuminating the Ekelede Forest as if it had been reborn. Wounded, but miraculously free, Jidenna began the arduous walk toward home. That sacred wine, clutched tightly to his chest, was the ultimate proof of a love that had defied and defeated an ancient god. But on the 8th day, I was the first to see him. Dragging himself, clothes torn, arm bleeding, holding a small calabash tightly to his chest. I screamed so loudly the entire kingdom ran out. Jidenna was alive. He had done it. Adaeze rushed to him, crying. He gave her the palm wine with trembling hands. She drank. And at that very moment, a loud crack echoed across the sky. The ground shook. The river roared in angry protest. Then, silence. The curse was broken. Jidenna shared his experience in Ekelede Forest with us all when he returned, and that is how I knew. 2 days later, the sacred river dried up. Completely. No one ever heard the voice of Obanku again. And the nightmare stopped. Adaeze and Jidenna married on Ik Market Day. It was the biggest celebration in the kingdom's history. King Abodo made Jidenna the crown prince. Years later, when the old king passed, Jidenna became king, and Adaeze, the beloved queen. Peace returned to the land. And me, I remained by their side, proud to witness the tale that still chills my bones. Because sometimes, when the moon is high and the wind whistles across the dried riverbed, I swear I hear a distant whisper. She was mine.